All right, so we're here today with Major Perry. We're episode 32 of the Hard to Kill podcast. Major Perry, thanks for joining us today, brother. How we doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me. I'm glad we can
I
make this happen.
absolutely. I'm getting pretty excited, man. I started this pretty recently, and it's starting to get a little traction. Some devils are starting to notice, and that's what I was hoping for, man. I was trying to get the attention of the boys, and it seems like everybody's receiving it pretty well. So talk to me. Who are you with? What's your day to day looking like? And how long you been in?
So, first and foremost, right after we started talking, I went on and I started watching some of your previous stuff. So, 100% agree with what you're doing, what you're putting out there. I think you are going to find that it's going to snag. It's hitting a good talking point in today's military. So, from me to you, I appreciate what you're putting out there because there's an audience that wants to hear it. As far as myself, so career infantry officer going on 15 years this summer coming up. Um, Currently working in the recruiting field. So running recruiting for Louisiana and a good part of Mississippi down here in Baton Rouge, it's a little bit of a homecoming for me. I'm born and raised in Louisiana.
Okay.
So it was interesting getting to come back here and see it through this lens.
So tell me how that works. Are you a reservist right now, or are you active duty on like your second like your A billet or whatever they call that?
Right. So, little different on this side. So I'm active duty, but considered a B billet for
Okay.
us. But the way it works is basically every single year the Marine Corps grabs a population of movers that are field grade officers or selected field grade officers, and then they're like, hey, we're going to throw these guys into a big old machine, and we're going to spin it like one of those damn bingo things. And if we draw your number, you're going to recruiting. I mean, there's obviously a lot more to it than that, and make a little bit of light of it.
No, I hear you.
But find out in about September of the year before that you were selected, and then move the following summer and impart on this.
Outstanding. I can't imagine what it's like being a recruiter right now, man. So when did you what year did you join?
So I joined back in 2006 out of the officer selection side of RS Baton Rouge.
Okay. Um, where was your first duty station?
So started out 29 Palms, 3rd
Ooh,
Battalion, 7th Marines. No, I loved it, man.
really?
I'll forever die on this hill. It is like an infantryman's playground,
Okay.
and we were gearing up. So this is 2009, right? So joining '06, still got to do OCS, got to do TBS, got to do all that stuff. So this is 2009 time frame that we get out there, and the 2010 surge is getting ready to go for Afghanistan.
Oh
So
yeah. I was
we're
there.
pumping, yeah, we're pumping the money into it. I can't. I'll be honest with you, man. I cannot think of a better place to be an infantry marine if all you care about is training and being as proficient in your task as humanly possible than in 29 Palms and the 2010 time frame.
I can understand that. Um, it's just funny because whenever I hear about guys out in 29 Palms, they always just complain there's not shit to do. But I mean, if
Oh,
you're
there's not.
if you're completely focused on your task at hand and just worrying about pumping out and putting rounds down range, I mean, it's an infantryman's paradise, man. It's range apart, on top of range, mount town on top of mount town. I mean, it's everything you need out there.
Oh yeah, it was great from that aspect, and the boys they live by a mantra, work hard, play harder. So Monday through Thursday, they're nobody's asking to go home early, getting that stuff out of the way. We're knocking out 5 days of work in 4.5 days, and then come Friday, I mean, shit's like a ghost town,
Gotcha.
and you got 2.5 hours to freedom in every direction.
So okay, so did we get a couple of pumps in? Get to taste Afghanistan a little
Yeah,
bit,
so
or
we did the rifle platoon, and then we did the 81s platoon.
okay?
So with 3-7, we went back to back, and pretty different deployments, but all in all, it was a you got to be careful how you say it, and that's something 12 years later we look back on it like, oh, we're gonna call it a good deployment. Like, is there such a thing?
No, I hear
You
that.
know what I mean? Like, is there such an actual thing as a good deployment? But I will say that what we had trained to do, we were allowed to do, and we were put to the test in that regard. And to watch what, the first time 43, the second time 82 Marines tasked with a mission, to watch them accomplish that, I don't know if there's a better feeling as a young platoon commander.
I understand the discrepancy there, and being part of a kinetic platoon or company over there. I mean, at the same time, it's everything you train for, but on the other side of the blade, it comes with a lot. You carry a lot home with you, and I got to say, I look back on it now, and keep in mind I'm dealing with PTSD, TBI, and a couple other things. I wouldn't take it back. I'm proud. I'm proud at what I did, and I'm happy. I'm happy that I did it. I forged a lot of friendships that mean a lot to me, and yeah, I'm proud we went over there. It was definitely a hit to the chest, coming with what recently happened in Kabul. I don't know how you feel about that, about how we left Afghanistan. A lot of guys that are close to me are kind of sick of it. Kind of gives you the taste of what you didn't mean anything. You know what I mean? But I mean, I'll tread lightly on that because I don't want to directly blast the leadership on that, because I'm sure that had a lot more going on there. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with agree and understand with what you're trying to say. And I think for me, it's, I admittedly did not do as great of a job keeping in touch with my platoons as I should have. A lot of guys came out of the woodworks when the incident went down, and it was great to hear from them again. But at the same time, man, I guess I told myself a long time ago, I'm a lieutenant. Yes, I'm an American citizen. I got all that. I have an opinion. Yes, my opinion matters, but I signed up to do this. If I'm given a task, I'm going to do my task. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to do everything in my power to accomplish the mission, and more importantly, accomplish the mission while bringing as many people home as humanly possible. And that's the way that I had to chalk it up inside. I mean, if that makes me an insensitive ass, then I got it. But at the same time, I think that it's important that we understand, it's the famous quote, right? Like, war is, waged by men in suits, fought by teenagers in camouflage.
Fortunately,
And that's exactly what we saw. But I don't really delve too much into how it all ended. I think that it's a healthy space for the guys who were there, who lived something that many of us did not. Just like the things that we lived, a lot of them did not. Hell, a lot of them weren't even in the military at that time.
yeah, exactly.
So we got to be careful how we reference that. The
For
same
sure.
way, I can't really talk to some Iraq guys about their stuff because I don't understand it.
It's funny because you joined right around the same time I did, so you have kind of that salty mindset. Now, is being a recruiter now, is that kind of difficult for you to? I don't know. I mean, kids are a lot different nowadays, man. Is it hard relating to them or passing the torch on to them? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think that, I'm going to take the second part of your question first. I think that there's still a lot of young men and women that really want to do this for the same reasons that you and I wanted to do it. Yes, the environment is different. No, we're not, pumping infantry battalions overseas as fast as humanly possible, but they still have, that same drive, that same passion to be a part of something that's far bigger than themselves. That population still exists. The other part of it is, you talk about relating to them. So, man, I'll be honest, I didn't have social media before I came to recruiting. It was actually the guy before me who was like, dude, you need to do this because you have to, the same way we do in every environment, you have to adapt to the environment. The environment is not going to adapt to you.
Of course.
Well, the environment that I'm dealing with is, your 18 to 22-year-old men and women. They live on their phones. They live on social media. I'm not a recruiter. I get to work with the recruiters. I don't take that from them the same way they wouldn't say, they're an infantryman if they're not. Like, that's an MOS that's earned. And just like everything else in this organization, if you don't earn it, don't claim it. So I never have claimed the title of recruiter. I'm privileged to work alongside them and get to watch what they do. And having seen it for over 3 years now, I understand that, the way in which we're adapting is what is the most important thing, because every single day is a new challenge facing a new generation that they may or may not understand. But frankly, they've got to figure out if they plan on being successful out here.
Of course. Understood. That was a great answer. That's one of the things that caught my eye about you, brother. I love the Instagram. I mean, for someone that doesn't really partake in social media, you're fucking killing it, dude. The pictures that you post really, I think, encapsulate, what we are as a Marine and what we strive to do. And if you could, the last picture you posted of that gentleman with his shirt off in the Kazovac, that's kind of circulated around social media a little bit. If you could give us a little bit of background on that.
So, social media, man, it works up and out and it works down and in, right? There's no faster way to figure out what's going on with your force than being able to see, how they're reacting on a social media platform, right? I can tell if they're having bad days. I can tell if they're having good days. I can tell their wins, their losses, all that stuff. And it's an invaluable tool from that regard. That was actually the advice that was given to me because, like I said, I didn't have a presence at all before I came here. And my predecessor was like, hey, dude, you need to figure this shit out. You don't have an option. Like, if you don't do it, it's just one more, I'm going to keep at arm's length distance away from the current generation. So, and he's even better at this shit than I am, with a much bigger presence. So as far as me, but I feel like you can't be something you're not. And for me, I wasn't comfortable. I got some pictures of myself on there, but I'm not comfortable doing that because I got a whole Instagram page filled with shit that I've fucked up, man. And I've got a lot more stories. Like, that's literally what the platform is. It's, how do we use this as an ability to tell a story about things that I've messed up that hopefully somebody doesn't make the same mistake, and to show that we're all human at the same time. So I found it more useful. I go out and I'll try to find, relevant pictures of things in the organization. Some directly relate to it, some not so much, but just, eye catchers of, just Marines or even service members. And the last guy was an Army guy, and I'll get to him in a second, that are just out there either doing great things or put into situations that they may or may not have chosen, but they adapted and they overcame. And that's that initial grab. That last picture, for those I love, I will sacrifice. That to me is like an iconic OEF, OIF picture. We've all seen it. It's the PFC Hortonberry who is being medevac 2011, and they've clearly cut his shirt off. He got hit. I'm pretty sure it's an IED blast. Had another page send me a really good article on him and what's been going on for the 12 years since then. But and he's laying there, and clearly somebody with a camera caught like one of the most timeless pictures of all. And I think that it just encaptures it because, I mean, that man, he's a PFC. We got to assume he's somewhere between 18 to 22. I don't know who this guy is. I do know that nobody asked him whether or not he wanted to get fucked up that day. Nobody asked him whether or not he even wanted to be there that day. But he went, he did what he was tasked with doing, and along the line, he lived up to what he had to tattooed to himself, which is, if it takes myself sacrificing, I'm going to do that. And that's kind of where that one came from.
Gotcha. That was a great answer. Kill. I mean, that really comes with being a Marine, is being selfless. And I think we do a great job at doing that on a day-to-day basis. That was really just, I think you said it perfectly, just a perfect picture to encapsulate OEF, OIF. And, that really hit a lot of us when we saw that. That's something that we really didn't get to do over there. I mean, as you know, at that time, it was kind of frowned upon to take pictures and have any kind of like social media presence while we're over there. So a lot of the things kind of like didn't get repeated or broadcasted, and we kind of got, I don't know, a lot. When I pumped out over there, they took a lot of our cameras or externals, so we didn't get to bring a lot back with us, and it's a lot different now. Now, if you could, give us the mindset right now of a young Marine coming into the Marine Corps at this time. It's a strange time to come in the military. There's a lot going on, and I don't know how to put this the right way, but it seems like there's a certain disconnect with the leadership talking about what's exactly. I'm referring to things getting shot down, the Ukraine situation, China, what's going on with China. I mean, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what's going on, and I'm pretty in tune with the news. It, that must be something that comes up when you're bringing Marines into the Marine Corps. I mean, I'm sure they have an assumption of what's going on, and honestly, if I think back to when I came in, I'm thinking about getting some. I'm thinking about where I'm going to be pumping out to. So where do you think their heads are at?
Man, so that this is an interesting one. I was actually at a function a little earlier tonight, and we're talking about this exact thing, and you hear things out here from parents, from educators, and we'll start at the top and we'll work our way down, right? Oh, well, the administration. And my response is always the same from when I hear things like, oh, well, this administration. And I'm like, look, ma'am, sir, whatever, whoever I'm talking to, I have been in the Marine Corps and or joined under 4 different presidents, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. At my level, and I am a lot higher than your son or your daughter is going to be when they join. They'll catch me, but as of right now, I have never noticed a difference. And that's Matt Perry talking at that point. And so we become very fixated on, that picture on the command board. We don't realize how many other people are in between, all of our ultimate boss and us on the ground. So when we talk about things like, the administration and talking about stuff like that, it's the same thing, and I've watched recruiters handle that question a lot better than I have. And it's all about, yes, we say it in the oath, obey the orders of the President of the United States. I've said that oath 4 times. And at the time, there have been 3 different presidents for it. Because when I joined, it was 06 and President Bush, but it wasn't full on out yet in uniform. But when we look at it, as we trickle our way down, so now we see things like, the fall of Kabul. That's another great one, right? You mentioned that one. I'll be honest with you, man. I wasn't on the ground there. I don't know what was being said. I don't know the tactical tasks that the Marines were or were not given. I don't know all that. So I'm always extremely hesitant to armchair quarterback those decisions that were made.
I think a lot of people don't understand that.
And without that, and without that context, it's not a debate that I'm really going to get into because I don't know what the tactical situation on the ground was. When we talk about, the balloons, when we talk about, the war in Ukraine, when we talk about all those different things, and I think social media today has exploded it. There's some phenomenal pages that report very well on it, and they try to remain, biased, but everybody's got an opinion. And when you can reply back in 2 seconds, everybody's got it, I try not to focus on all that stuff. I read anything and everything I can get my hands on just to try to remain as relevant as possible to have the conversations. And I'm not dancing your question at all. I don't know what it is that we are looking at as far as, the potential horizon. I know that the number one adversary that we're all taught right now as the biggest competitor to the United States, and that's what it's my job to prepare whoever's in my charge to face that threat in whatever capacity we may deem that we have to confront it.
You're a true company man, my friend, and I respect that. Okay. Well, if you could, now you said you follow a few news pages that are, kind
Hmm.
of unbiased or aren't really select any certain way. I have a lot of Marines and a lot of, Army soldiers watching my content. So if you could recommend a few things for us to check out so we can stay
Yeah,
abreast.
too easy. Yeah. So first and foremost, been following him since way early when he started. I mean, he had started before I did. Have gotten the honor to talk to him a couple of times. I love
Who
what
is
he
it? Who is
does.
it? You kind of went in and out.
But
Who?
you've got Northern Provisions.
Okay.
So been following him since the beginning. Um, like what he does, like the way he puts it out there, likes the way he takes criticism and or compliments.
Yep.
But it's not going to stop what it is that he's doing. A big fan of Analyze and Educate and what they put out there, like their podcast as well. Like what Lethal Minds Journal is doing,
Oh, I do as well.
as far as their bulletins from the borderland.
For sure.
So that right there, you get on their Substack and you can read a lot of the stuff that it is that they're doing. And I think that is a very relevant thing. They've got a lot of good guys on there. And then you've got, a couple other ones. I really like, and what I've really found to enjoy are some of your, guys like yourself, they did their time, they got out, take any of the ups as far as what they continue to do, whether you're talking, goons, maneuver, tubes, toes, corpsmen, any of the ups. And I like how they just highlight what the actual service member is doing. A lot of unit pictures we talked about, our time, we didn't really get to take a lot of pictures. If anybody takes anything from me, I'd tell them, man, take pictures. You don't know when you're at your last barracks
Absolutely.
party. You don't know when
Absolutely.
you're at your last field op. And in 20 years, you're going to really wish you still had that stuff.
Facts.
So I like a lot of those. And I've gotten, I don't take anything on social media personally. I think that we can get, butthurt a little bit about some of that stuff. I mean, hell, even the post I put up today, got some guys in there and they don't agree with me. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me.
That's why we
But
love
if
the world we
you're
live
gonna
in,
put
brother.
yourself out there, be yeah, be willing to take the good with the bad. If you're gonna put yourself out there,
Facts.
be willing to take the you're all fucked up or the yeah man I completely agree with you.
Absolutely. I can completely agree with that. Um, I like the way you answered that. Good stuff. So I'm going to kind of shift to a different topic, and it's something that really hits home for a lot of OIF guys. PTSD is really at the forefront of a lot of conversations right now. What's it like being active duty and dealing with PTSD? Because you don't hear about that often. And how is it being dealt with? Is that commonly being talked about, or where is it at? Because I mean, I've been out for a little bit. I don't know what we're addressing and what we're not addressing. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
So I don't think that it has the stigma that it did 10 years ago. If a guy comes up to me and tells me, and PTSD, I'm not a mental health professional. So I'm never going to tell somebody they're not fucked up in the head.
Yeah,
Because
I hear you.
frankly, I don't know what the hell is going on through their head. I'll tell you the way that I run it. If you tell me that, I got an issue, I want to go talk to the wizard, I all about it. Please do that. Like I've unfortunately lost men in combat, and I've lost almost times two out of combat. And frankly, man, I'm fucking tired of going to the goddamn funerals
Absolutely.
about shit that if it means that I'm gonna fail a mission, or if it means that I'm not gonna be able to accomplish whatever task it is because you were the one linchpin that held me together, but we fail, but at least you're here tomorrow. Well, then by God, we're gonna fucking fail. Is what's gonna happen. So that's kind of my MO. I want to get you in front of somebody that is trained to deal with that. When we talk about active duty service members with it, I don't know the actual diagnosis. I will tell you, I have many a scenes that replay inside my head on a daily basis about just decisions that I've made. So when we talk about how we deal with it, I can talk about how I deal with, some of the things that and some of the decisions I've made. And for me, it's leaning on, those who were there, those who understand, that environment that we're talking about. I mean, we could probably, you and I, we can go sit down, we can go drink a shitload of beers and start talking about the units that we were with and stuff like that. And inevitably things will come out because we've surrounded ourselves by people that understand that. That's why I think like what you're doing, like what all these damn social media pages are doing are so damn important because it gives a platform to sit there and talk about that.
Definitely.
And talking is literally the most important step, in my humble ass opinion, as to how we can actually start to do something. It ain't damn push-ups.
It took me a while to realize that, man. I mean, as you know, Marines, op tempo is high, and we don't have a lot of time to really self-reflect and figure out what's going on inside of our emotions, if you will. And we don't really tap into that a lot. And when you get out, you really have time to address these things. And honestly, the VA gets a lot of heat, but they do their best. And I mean, PTSD is not an easy thing. And I'm sure listening to guys like us all day talk about our horror stories, it's not an easy thing to do. So, I mean, I can understand that there's a drop off in that. And I've worked with a lot of people in the VA, and I got to commend them on that. But, this is something, social media, that I'm realizing, or just talking to guys like you, man, guys that actually understand where we've been and the walks of life that we come from. It makes someone comfortable about really expressing themselves and talking about the things that are going on. And what I'm realizing is each episode that I do, man, it's a form of therapy, and it's something that I think that we need to focus on more, is just being more open and being able to talk about these things. And I just hope that active duty guys that I know that have been over there that are dealing with PTSD have that ability to do that. Now, when it comes to actually, hey, I have to change. So I'm a cheap motherfucker and I haven't updated my Zoom yet. So I have to go to the next room. So I'm going to end this and I'm going to send you the coordinates for the next one. Just stand by for me. I apologize.
Too easy.
Roger.
All right.
Back at it. So we were talking about PTSD. Now, as of right now, they're coming up with some new ways to deal with treating it, I guess. And I'm happy to hear that, because when I first started going to the Wizard, I was still active duty, and it was kind of it was difficult to talk about PTSD at that time, because you could really see that they were unsure about it and they didn't really understand how to treat it, and they were kind of just more so in the zone of collecting information about it. And but right now they're coming up with I think they're moving away from SSRIs and they're going for more holistic treatments. I've seen ketamine, I've seen shrooms, I've seen cannabis. Some people have recommended, but honestly, I truly believe that there's something behind getting like minds together and doing groups and just expressing ourselves to each other. It really goes a long way. But I just really wanted to try to hear what you thought about the topic, being active duty still. And I just hope that it's definitely at the forefront of concerns, because as you said, suicide, right? I had someone on the podcast probably 5-6 episodes ago, and he was a Marine officer. I forget where he worked out of, but it was a captain or major bodrog. I'm not sure of his exact rank. And he did a play, and it focused on 22 a day. So I believe right now the number.
Oh yeah, I saw that
Did
one
you?
on your page earlier today. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, and then I saw how you wrote about it, and so I went to your YouTube thing, and I was like, oh, this shit's pretty interesting. So I'm not all the way through his episode yet.
No, but it's I appreciate you watching that, but it was kind of an eye-opening thing for me, man. I did not realize that fucking 22 guys a day are going, or roughly the number, and clearly there's an issue there. And I just really hope that That's one of my goals with this podcast is I would like to just give guys the platform to talk and come together as a whole and try to figure out new ways to treat it, man. Because as you said, if we make it back, hopefully the battle will stop there. And I'm sick of going to funerals just as much as you are. And yeah.
I mean, you talk about different treatments and stuff that are ongoing, right? And I think that if there is such a thing as a positive thing that comes from war, it's the advances in medical. And we see that throughout history, whether it's, amputations in the Civil War and then all the way up to now. I mean, dude, we're at what, 3 million service members that served in OEF, OIF?
Yep, I saw that.
And brother, we took some massive shots to the grape. Like TBI is a monster that I think that they are still trying to figure out. Like, man, we took a bunch of 18 to 22-year-old kids and we threw them in there. We put Kevlars on them and started beating them upside the head with baseball bats. Like, what is this going to look like in 15, 20 years? And there's no way to study that, right? Except to study us as we grow into it and how we actually go into and being able to adapt to that. So it's the same thing that we look at when we look at, PTSD, right? So you talked about, hallucinogens and shrooms and cannabis and all that stuff. If there's a medical reason behind it, like we gotta do whatever it is that we can that can help the service member get past and learn to deal. That's the thing. I'm never going to say get over it, but learn to deal with that because the experiences we have shape who we are, right? We're not the same person we were before we saw, lived, dealt with all of those things. And if we try to pretend to be, all we're doing is masking the fucking problem. And then we're going to find ourselves at the bottom of a barrel or at the bottom of a bottle.
Absolutely.
Right? We've seen it too many damn times. So instead of shying away from it, you face that shit head on. And you say, okay, these are all of the possible remedies. And now in a controlled environment, let's do something about this. Let's make it to where we can help them out. But I will always say, this medium right here, just eyeball to eyeball, talking to people, you don't have to actually understand it all the way. You have to do what you're doing. You have to care and you have to listen. That's it. Those two things right there. You care, you listen to the people that are trying to talk to you about that stuff, and maybe you're the first person in months they felt actually matters if they're still here or not tomorrow. That's all it comes down to.
Deep. That's deep right there, man. I love it. I completely agree with you. So back to you, man. You're clearly a career guy. What's the goal for you, man? You going to climb the ranks and try to end up somewhere in an embassy, or are you going to try to pick up a company, or what's the goal, man?
So I got 5 more months left in the billet that I'm at now. I know where I'm going. I don't believe in saying where you're going because I believe you finish strong with what you're assigned. And frankly, think back to yourself, right? So you're back in your unit and your company commander gets orders and this son of a bitch is walking around talking about where he's going. Well, motherfucker, what about us? Like, we're still going to be here.
I hear that.
So that's kind of my take on that is, and it's, but as far as how far this game goes, I'll tell you, man, I'm still having fun. I'm still learning something every single day. I still think that I can keep up with the 18-year-olds. But the first moment that I got where it's, I can't keep up, I'm just another, field grade officer that people view as, he's just trying to collect 20. And then that way he can get, 50%. Like that's when it's time for me to go at that point.
Gotcha.
And I don't think I'm not there yet. And I'm still enjoying it. And I'm still loving being around, young Marines. So we're going to keep riding this train.
Well, it's good to see that we have leaders like you doing the damn thing, hooking in and jabbing. We need strong leaders in our Marine Corps. And it's good to see. But if you could, we live in a a new world, man. I feel old saying that. It's funny saying that because I have just had so many old heads in my life, and I recall them hating on my generation and nitpicking on the little things, and now I'm doing that here and now. But things have changed a lot, man, since we got in originally. Um, as a young Marine, that can be influential, that can be confusing. Where do you see the Marine Corps going, man? Because for me, I've heard the stories that Marine Corps has changed so much. We're not doing the same tactics that we use. We're no longer doing mount training. We're not, doing this or that. We're kind of getting away from the alpha mindset. I mean, how do you answer some of those things?
So
I know that's like
I
a
don't
four-sided
think that
question.
we
Sorry.
have gotten away. Yeah, no, it's a great question though. I don't think that we've gotten away from the alpha mindset. You still got Marines out here that want nothing more than to assert dominance, impose their will. The same principles we talk about just in war fighting across the thing. Like, because what is war at the end of the day? It's a clash of opposing wills. And if your will ain't stronger, you ain't going home. That's all that it comes down to.
Facts.
Today's Marine, though, man, this is what I will say. I had an opportunity to see the new, the revamped SOI. Man, these son of a bitches are smart.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you. They're smart. They got all kinds of whiz bang gadgetry, shit that I don't even know how to use. I mean, hell, man, you go on any of these platforms. Look, you go to Amazon, buy a drone for
I know
$29.99
it's
and drop a
crazy,
grenade
bro.
down
I
somebody's
know.
ass.
I know.
Like, you gotta understand that technological grasp that these young men and women have, man. It's unreal. So is war changing? Yeah, man, but war has always changed. We didn't ride damn, I mean, I got it in, 01. Seventh group did, but you and I didn't ride fucking horses against an opposing cavalry, just like if they look back on us from generations or World War II. You and I didn't land on beaches the way that they did. The same way the next war is going to be completely different. So what does it ultimately do? War is ever changing, but war is always timeless. Timeless in the aspect of it's a battle of wills. And that's the number one thing right there. And that's what I would tell you is that you still got Marines out here wearing Marpet that want to win. And that's the most important thing of it all is that as long as you have a force that wants to win, you're going to be fine.
I love to hear it. I love to hear that. If you could, we all talk about mentors that we had and people that we looked up to. Who's some of the people that kind of molded you as a Marine and pushed you in the direction that you're going?
Oh man. All right. So I got a couple of them, and they go up and they go down. And I wrote about this. I mean, this was when I was first starting. And my three most influential people that have been in my career at the time, Lance Corporal David Lopez, now First Sergeant David Lopez, Corporal Dominic Valerio, now First Sergeant Dominic Valerio, and Lance Corporal Shane Otwell, now Mr. Shane Otwell.
No shit.
Right. So why are these the three? These are my first three squad leaders, right? And dude, I'm not trying to pull some pretentious company man bullshit, but when I tell you I'm average, I'm fucking average. I'm average at best. These three were able to take a lieutenant on a very short timeline because I was a late join to 3-7 before we deployed. And we were able to do things that, frankly, we shouldn't have been able to do. And it's because those three knew how to, A, work together, but B, how to make up for every gap that I created. And that was the most important thing because they could take, the orders I would give, they would always abide by them, but they always had the 13 men that were entrusted to them in their best interest. So yeah, boss, we're going to do this. And I'm going to bring all these son of a bitches home at the same time. And it was a very, very kinetic deployment. And they were able to do everything that they promised. And that's why, like, those three, I still, not as much Shane. I wish I kept in better touch with him. But Dominic and David talk to those two all the time. They're still shaping me to this day. One is getting ready to take over a company over at MARSOC, one's on the West Coast, out running around doing his, like, I guess, full service first sergeant thing, praying to God he comes back to the grunts as a sergeant major. They'll both end up as battalion sergeant majors and probably end up competing against each other as they work their way up through the ranks. So those are three of the probably of the most influential when I go down. When I go up, though, man, it's I had a company commander that he mastered the art of his message and getting the Marines to buy into what it is. And he taught me a very valuable lesson. He said, you control one layer, you influence two layers. And I said, 10 years later, I was like, man, what are you talking about? Man, you ask anybody in Kilo Company 37 about this man, and they'll run straight through a burning building covered in CLP and gasoline for this man. But you ask any of the platoon commanders, and man, this dude used to fuck us up on a daily basis. I mean, he would destroy us because he wanted us to be better. And I remember asking him 10 years later, I'm like, hey, boss. I mean, I still call him Kilo 6 to this day. I'm like, 6, man. Like, you used to fuck us up. He's like, yeah, because you guys were my direct control. I could influence two layers down, but if I tried to control, I neutered you. And I couldn't neuter you because the guys had to look at their platoon commander and understand that you were going to ultimately tell them the orders that would either lead to them coming home or not coming home. So it was my job to shape you guys. And man, that stuck with me.
How could it not? Great answer. I love it. And what you said in the beginning really resonated with me, man. So leadership is a huge thing to me. And in combat, it can make or break you. And it's huge to me when a young officer can implement his senior NCOs properly and really take the good with the bad, go to them offline with the things that you're uncomfortable about, talk, and bring it back to the men in an educated, smart, and intelligent way, so they can understand. And when you can implement your NCOs properly, like you said, go to them and really figure out how to use them properly, it makes us just unstoppable. And I've seen it in the battlefield, and I've seen the bad in the battlefield as well. I've seen hubris. I've seen young lieutenants or young captains go thinking that they know everything, and it blow up in their face. And we really need to understand why we can't do that, and why we do exactly what you just said. And it really hits home for me that you just said that. And I really like.
So you bring up a point that, right now I'm on recruiting, and I've got, 55 staff sergeants that in some capacity work within the unit. And I tell them all the same thing. I said, look, you guys are going to leave here and you're going to go back to the fleet, and you're going to either be, a section chief, you're going to be a platoon sergeant, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. But what are you going to have? You're going to have a brand new second lieutenant that you're working by side. And I am a believer, every officer's opinion about staff non-commissioned officers is 99% made based off the first one that they had. And you can take a young officer and you can make him completely anti-enlisted by that bad relationship. I was very blessed in that I had Armando Hopkins, now Gunner Hopkins, who is just, he ran the platoon for 6 months before I got there. And I'll never forget the first meeting I had with him. He was like, no matter what you say, I will always back you. But I'll ask one thing of you. And I was like, what's that, Hop? Call him Hop. I was like, what's going on, Hop? And he was like, let's talk it out. Nothing is ever going to be so urgent that we can't have a discussion. And if it is, I know that it is that urgent at that point. So no matter what you say, I'll be the first one through the breach. And I was like, damn. And man, that man has stuck with me to this day. He's now a battalion gunner out there doing phenomenal things, continue to do great things all the way up. But that first relationship between that young officer and that staff NCO, they're both trying to figure out who the hell they are at that point in time. And they're going to figure it out together, and they're either going to make each other or they're going to destroy each other.
I like it. Now, if you could talk to some of the young Marines out there, or the young young infantrymen or young soldiers that just got in the military and they're maybe having, second thoughts or contemplating why they joined. Give them some advice. Let them know. Let them know basically what you feel the reason is that they should be a part of our military right now and why they need to stay motivated. I'm interested to hear your answer on this.
Look left, look right. That's what I would tell any young
Bam.
anybody. It doesn't matter. Look left, look right. Stop worrying about all the shit that goes on at the top. Look left, look right. Because when it happens, those are the only two people that matter on earth. It's whoever's on your left and whoever's on your right. And you got to be there. You got to be in the moment the same way you're praying to God that those two people are in the moment too. Because if one of you is not, none of you are going home. But if all you guys are standing there ready, you've trained, you're prepared, you're all going home.
Great answer. Great answer. So I follow a lot of podcasts, obviously, with what I do. And one of them that really sticks out for me is the Jocko Willink podcast. He's actually one of the reasons that I got into doing it. In the gym one day, I was listening to the Black Hawk Down story, and I'm a big believer where Hollywood takes a lot of liberties and they twist this. I can't watch a lot of war stories because I just see a lot of bullshit and it aggravates me and I get all ramped up. And when I get ramped up, everyone's doesn't want to be around me. You know what I'm saying? But when I heard that pilot tell his story, it hit me so hard because sometimes people just say key words or details are everything. And when you can use them to tell a story properly, it's just amazing. And it really, really resonated in me and it made me want to do this. And I heard someone recently that was on his podcast. His name was Dick Rutan, and I believe he was a pilot. And I'm unsure of his story, so I'm not going to speak on it. But he was talking about being a warrior. And I don't want to sound corny, but I'm gonna pop my shit. And he said that to be a proper warrior, to be an effective warrior, you really need to, in a way, accept death and kind of cut ties with everything back home. And that's a hard concept for a lot of people to accept. And I know the time and place where I did it when I was in Afghanistan, and I became a force after it. What do you think about that?
I think that nobody who does this profession wants to die. I think that those who truly view themselves as professionals in the profession of war are prepared to do it. And what I mean by that is, when I went the first time, I didn't write some letter that was going to be read at my funeral or anything like that. But I remember I had a guy, man, Camden McGregor. So he was a grizzled ass sergeant. He's now Master Sergeant McGregor, running around with the fast platoon up in Norfolk, and he's the ops chief up there. He's a great guy. And I remember he came up to me. We're in Kyrgyzstan, and we have yet to go in. And at the time, man, we're going to Farah province, and there's not much going on out there. Now, this is before we button hooked and ended up in Musa Kayla and Sangin and did that dance. But at the time, I remember he came up to me. It was late one night, and Mac always got a Marlboro Red in his hand. And, I'm kind of sitting out there and kind of jet lagged and all that stuff. And he goes, "Let me ask you a question, sir." And I was like, "What's that, Mac?" And he was like, what are you thinking about?" And I was like, and Mac was, Ramadi vet, Fallujah vet. If you could be in a battle, Mac had fought in this battle, right? So I'm like, dude, I don't even know what this man's thinking about. And I was like, man, I'm thinking about, how we're going to set up the squads. Lopez is really young, baby Lance Corporal, but he's got the heart of a fucking lion. He wasn't losing that squad to save his life. Valeria's smart and Otwell, he'll just run through a fucking brick wall for you. And he was like, all right. And I was like, wow, what's up, Mac? He was like, I got to make sure you're not thinking about home. And I was like, he kind of caught me off guard. I was like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, we're going to feed off of you. And if all you're worried about is going home, you're not going to be willing to do what it takes to make sure we actually get home.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, that's pretty damn profound from somebody that usually didn't throw out very many things other than 4-letter words. So I was that's kind of my take on it, man. You know, that podcast, I won't even try to. I've listened to the same one, and I've seen these clips that are circulating around social media. I'm not even going to try to pretend to be as profound as Mr. Rutan, because his story is amazing. But I think that he hits the nail on the head. And I don't think that it's something we ask for, but I think that it's something that we have to accept as a part of the job in which we have dedicated ourselves.
Absolutely. I heard a quote recently. I'm a big UFC fan, and Dustin Poirier had just recently beat Michael Chandler, I believe, and he really, it was real fucking battle, man. They really fucking banged it out, big stand up fight, and he said to him at the end of the fight, he's like, you know, I was scared of you, but I dived headfirst in, and without fear, there would be no bravery. And that fucking smacked me, dude. That really hit me, because there was a lot of instances when I was deployed where I was fucking terrified, man. And I really dived in, and I just had that fuck it mindset. And because you really don't have a choice, it's that, or you're not making it home to a certain degree. And that quote really resonated in me, man. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it really hit home. And I don't know if you've ever faced any kind of moments like that in your time. I'm sure you have, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all do. I think that fear is relative based upon our lives that we've lived, both before the Marine Corps, during the Marine Corps, the different training that we put ourselves through. I don't think you can ever train fear out of somebody. I think fear is a human emotion, which we're all a part of. It's our coping mechanisms of fear. And I remember, man, you know, you're lying to yourself, to your Marines, to everybody, if you say that, you know, oh yeah, I went to combat and I wasn't scared of anything. Like,
of course.
Okay, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I don't buy it. I'll tell you, my biggest fear in life is heights. I fucking hate heights, man. Like, I cannot stand heights. And got some great opportunities following the infantry. And, you know, part of the school was, one of the schools I had to go to was free fall school. So I'm sitting there the whole time. I'm like, all right, man. And you know, it doesn't resonate to me. Dude, you got to jump out of a plane. Like, this is not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time we go up to, you know, 13,000 feet and we're getting ready to jump, and my instructor kind of looks at me, and I'm the lightest guy in the class. I just finished another school. I was down to stick and bones. So I'm wearing ankle weights, and I got weights in my vest. So I meet the minimum threshold for the parachute. And he looks at me, and we're getting ready to go. I mean, I'm talking 4 seconds till green light. And he looked at me, he goes, BDAP. And then he jumps, and I got to chase him after. And so the whole time I'm like, BDAP, what the fuck is BDAP? So we get to the ground, and I'm like chasing after him. I got the parachute. I'm like, BDAP, what does that mean? Like, I didn't know what to do. He goes, better dead than a pussy, man. Oh. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, that became, to me, throughout the years, like, I would rather, it's the guy on your left and your right. And fear is a cancer.
It is.
So if you hesitate in the breach, if you hesitate on the ramp, if you hesitate wherever, everybody's gonna hesitate.
It spreads.
Like, at the end of the day, like, you're a damn Marine Corps officer. Like, hesitation is the worst thing you can do in any capacity.
I agree. I agree completely. So we're about ready to wrap up here. If you could leave us a little bit with a little bit of motivation. Give us something to close out on, if you will. What's your mindset going forward? Talk to your Marines real quick.
Man, there's two things you can't control in life. There's a lot you can control, but there's two things you can't control. You can't control when the sun comes up, and you can't control when the sun goes down. What you can do is maximize what you do in between those two uncontrollable events. And the way in which you live your life every day, the way in which you dedicate yourself to being better as just a human being, as a Marine, as an infantryman, as a motor T-Mech, as whatever the hell you actually are, what you do inside that period matters to so many more people than yourself. This is not a game that you can be in for yourself. It is not about clout. It's not about, how many people click on my damn pictures. No, this is the most serious of professions and that exist. It is the oldest profession that exists in mankind. So make the most of it. Be an asset.
Absolutely.
Be value added to your organization.
I love it. Well, Major Perry, it was a pleasure. I'm happy to see that we have such a motivated, educated, and just badass motherfucking major leading our Marines at this point. It's good. I'm glad to see that they're being led by a Marine of your caliber. I haven't talked to many, I think, officers. I've had 2 or 3, but I'm happy to see that we have someone like you in the position that you are. And I look forward to speaking with you again. Maybe if you're ever on in my area in Massachusetts, please hit me up. I'd love to have an in-person interview with you. Maybe put some rounds down range. We got a range out here, but it was a pleasure talking with you, man. I really like picking your brain, and I wish you the best going forward, my friend.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun. I enjoy talking to people that want to talk about the same type of things. Seeing guys like yourself, we got a saying within MCRC, so Marine Corps Recruiting Command, and the Marine Corps. And our final mission is to return better citizens to society. So when I talk to people like you that came out, that did the dance, that exited honorably, that left with the knowledge that you have, and you're continuing to try to give back, continuing to try to have these conversations. I mean, that is what mission accomplishment of that final mission looks like, is seeing people that joined, went through that transformation, and they came out the other side and now want nothing more than to try to give something back to that next generation, because they're fucking hungry for it, man. They really are. And I'm gonna close with one thing, man. You said something, and this ain't a fucking dose of humility or some shit like that. There's nothing that makes me unique except for the fact that I've rolled the dice many times and come up on snake eyes with the people that I've been surrounded by. Because those people are the ones that I wish you could put all of them on this podcast, because their story is truly the story of who I am and why I represent the things that I do today. So, dude, I seriously appreciate you having me on it. We will do this again. I got cousins on the Cape, so I'm going to get up there and we're going to make this happen.
Fuck yeah. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Major Matt Perry closing it out. Hard to Kill podcast. Give him one. Kill. Talk to you, brother.